Congresswoman Katie Porter represents the 47th Congressional District in Orange County, California, focused on the lack of transparency around pharmacy benefit management pricing mechanisms. It was pointed out that pharmacy benefit managements do not disclose the exact deal to health insurance companies, patients, or pharmacies. Each step of the process is a source of income for them. HappenJustNow Enjoy hearing your thoughts. Please leave comments. Thanks.
Ms. Riley, we can both agree that pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, are not working for patients. But I really want to illustrate the problem for the American people. What are pharmacy benefit managers supposed to do?
The goal of a pharmacy benefit manager is to negotiate on behalf of employers and plan sponsors to lower the net cost of drugs. And I actually think they do that very effectively. I think the challenge is those rebates and discounts, which often exceed 50% of the list price, don't make their way back to the patient to lower the price that they ultimately pay.
Are PBMs transparent about how much savings they negotiate and where those savings are realized?
Typically not. I think that is one of the big challenges in the system today, is that it's hard for employers and plan sponsors to understand where the money goes. Increasingly, employers are demanding pass-through of almost all the rebates, but as a response, PBMs have shape-shifted and they've started transferring and getting more revenue off of fees they create, which are often opaque. They get them not just from pharmaceutical manufacturers, but from pharmacies as well.
So as a patient, do patients have a way to know
No.
whether they're getting cheaper prices because their insurance plan uses a PBM?
No.
Okay. So if PBMs were more transparent, it's possible that patients would know and employers would know, patients would be able to, we'd have this data and we'd be able to figure out whether patients are really benefiting from PBMs and which PBMs. So it seems like, I've seen your ads, by the way, that you run about PBMs, and your ads say that transparency is key. And many of your members, large pharmaceutical companies, advertise their medications on TV. Even though only doctors can prescribe these medications, these companies advertise directly to consumers. What's the purpose of those ads?
The purpose of those ads is to raise awareness for patients about medicines that may be available to treat conditions that they either know they have or know that they don't have yet. They raise symptom awareness to prompt a conversation between a doctor and the patient, but ultimately the decision about what medicine gets prescribed is up to the doctor and oftentimes the PBM or insurer, depending on whether that medicine is actually on the formulary or not.
So there are lots of disclosures, though, that are made in these ads. We've all seen that virtually every drug is going to give you a headache and constipation and who knows what else. Those disclosures don't include, in these direct-to-patient ads, any disclosure about price. There's no price transparency in those ads, correct?
Well, that's in part because the price paid depending on the consumer can vary. A patient on Medicaid may pay a different price than a patient with commercial insurance. So no, they don't, but those ads do direct patients back to those companies' websites to find out more information about pricing and what prices might be applicable for
Are the
them.
companies' websites required to disclose the pricing?
They're not, but our companies have voluntarily agreed to do that.
The list price?
Yes.
Okay. So can you commit today to changing policy that your organization will disclose pricing? I realize there's multiple prices, but we could come up with a rule that says you have to disclose a range, you have to disclose the median price, the average price. Will you commit to that?
I believe our companies are already and have committed to doing that. They direct patients back to their website where patients can find more information about the prices of the medicines. It's important as a patient, first of all, to not be scared off. They may go to the website and say, well, that's the list price. That's what I'm going to have to pay.
Ms. Riley, but
may or may not be the
reclaiming
case.
my time, I mean, they may be scared off by the headaches and constipation too. I mean, the idea here is to give people information. You said transparency was key. I think it would be key for people to have a sense of the possible range of costs. Not everyone's going to get the side effects either, and we make you list those. And so the idea here is you would give some information about price to give some idea. I mean, I think the problem here is that you're arguing for transparency in the case of PBMs, but then your own on price. But then your company isn't willing to your organization, isn't willing to commit for transparency in your own advertisements. Now, as you know, the Trump administration...
I would disagree that we haven't been willing to advocate for transparency. We supported the Trump rebate rule, which would have provided transparency across every single medicine sold in the Part D program. The only entities that opposed that were the pharmacy benefit managers who did not want transparency into those prices.
Okay, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing, because I don't want to talk past you. The Trump administration rule that would have required drug manufacturers to disclose list prices in TV ads, your organization and its members supported that, yes or no?
Our organization did not support that, no.
So you spent time and money, and your organization spent time and money opposing transparency for pricing when you advertise, but you want to hold PBMs to make those disclosures.
In part because the list price is not a price that nearly anyone pays. Patients should know the price that they are going to pay when they go to the pharmacy counter, not the list price of a medicine. It's important for patients to have transparency in terms of their insurance design and how much they are going to be asked to be paid when they go to the pharmacy counter. And our company's websites provide much more detailed information because it's not as simple as one number to be disclosed.
I would just argue that, and I appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chair, I would just argue that, none of the disclosures that we're making when we're advertising directly to patients about something as complicated as prescription medicine, which they're not even authorized to prescribe to themselves, I think we could come up with a disclosure amount. I mean, I think what I want you to think about, and what I really appreciate your good faith engagement with me on, is that I feel a little bit like the pharma industry is pointing the finger at PBM, saying they're not disclosing enough about price, but you're not leading the way on price disclosures either. And I respectfully say that when people are watching a TV ad and they're in the middle of Ozempic, they're not running to their website and looking up the price. Like, you put the important information for a market in an ad. And I think that if we want more transparent drug pricing, we should have more transparency across the board. I yield back.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Happen Just Now for more content about accountability of all public officials and policy and procedures.